Okay, let's call this meeting of the Ad Hoc Coherent Governance Policy Annual Committee to order. Can you stand for the pledge, please? I'll move it.
I'll see it.
Oh, I'll hold it. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. If I ever hit the lottery, I'm going to buy a real flag for this room.
Well, Tony asked that we put it in the budget that we buy a real flag for this
real
room.
flag.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda. A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you have Rachel on the phone?
4-0. Thank you, Rachel. There are no publics here for comments. Approval of the January 30th minutes. There is one fix we have to make, which is the adjournment time.
It's not 5:30, it's 11:15.
Oh,
You all didn't stay
No.
all day.
I was gonna say, but not after I left.
Rachel, do I need to email you? Let me see if it's in board docs. I'll email you the minutes because the minutes aren't in board docs.
Okay.
Alright, and let's see what else is active. Email, see everything we are working on that I have today.
So are we waiting for Rachel to get them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, I'm sorry. Rachel, I just sent you the minutes,
Thank you.
and I send you the dates thing. Oh, you already sent that out.
Got it.
Okay. I move we approve the minutes. I second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.
Aye.
Rachel? 4. 4-0. All right, now down to our actual work. Just will continue with the same format we were using that quadrant. And I think we had gotten through, well, we know what we got through. We got through 2.23F. So we would start at 2.32. Is that where we would start?
I
Anyway,
think basically you told everybody to take, Alright, just so, I didn't know how.
I was supposed to work on the introduction
Yeah.
and board purpose.
you want to do that first?
Can I do that first?
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
I sent you guys an email just now. Rachel, did you get that email I just sent?
Let's see, I think I saw that.
Okay, all right.
Yep, I got it.
So, when Kathy, I know you were on the phone last time, and so I know sometimes if you miss something, but basically, we were looking at this part here, this introduction, all right? and going through some of the thoughts on here, and then looking at the board purpose. And so when reading through some of this introduction, and it talked about the strategic plan and the vision and the mission and everything, it started that conversation about all that. So I spent time looking at the introduction, looking at the board purpose, going online, looking at our strategic plan, and trying to meld it all together. And then I know, David, you were trying to see, okay, where does it all play together? So what I just emailed to you guys is just a thought that I had. I think that having an introduction page is really good, okay? But I made a recommendation on how to change it so that it would look something along the lines of, like Roman numeral 1 would say the Beaufort County School District Board of Education Trustees, or board, uses the coherent governance model and governs through policies. And then number 2, the board's governing policies are delineated in this manual. 3, the 4 types of policies are, and then list the 4. 4, using coherent governance, the board through its policies focuses on student achievement, evaluates the superintendent and district performance, and monitors itself through self-evaluation to ensure optimal outcomes. And then 5, this is kind of the meat of it. The Beaufort County School District 5-year strategic plan is developed by the Beaufort County School District stakeholders, parents, community members, teachers, staff, students, and approved by the board. In approving the 5-year district strategic plan, the board supports and embraces the vision, mission, and core beliefs contained therein. So after I looked through everything and we had that conversation about the vision and the mission and everything, the way that it looked to me is that we can't have a different vision and mission. I mean, you know, as soon as the board approves it, then it kind of becomes the district's vision and mission instead of, you know what I mean? It is one. But I think it's really important that the sentence here in the introduction said that the board's core beliefs, mission, and vision are derived from the Beaufort County strategic plan. Well, that's not true. So I was thinking that we needed to be a lot more specific on what we're doing and how that mission and vision of that plan, developed by the communities, the stakeholders of BCSD, how it all works together. Okay? So that would be a recommendation. Now, again, I mean, it no doubt needs some more wordsmithing and everything, but it was just to get away more from a glossary and get into more an introduction, thank you, as to what is coherent governance and what is this manual that you're going to be looking at, okay? So that's just a thought. Now, the second part of this is that I looked at the board purpose. And Kathy, do you remember when we were in the small group? Okay, so I hope I can express this properly. Okay, so Kathy, remember how we said that board purpose, that should be GC1?
Yes.
Right? Okay, well, and we started saying how some of it doesn't, wouldn't abide. Okay, well, it dawned on me, that is in our strategic plan, that is at the state. We can't change what the core beliefs are that are in our strategic plan already. Then I went back and I read this more closely. It's not asking for the same core beliefs. It's saying that the board is guided in its decision-making. It's not saying what are the core beliefs. So I think the suggestion that our small group had, Kathy, to include those core beliefs into here is an error. Because we're not asking for the district's core beliefs, the strategic plan. We're asking, what do we believe when we make decisions? Does all that make sense?
I have to stop and think a minute.
Okay, so.
I agree with you. The district's mission beliefs have to be the same as the board's.
Yes, I agree.
And that,
So at some place, we have to state what it is.
and they should be the same in that as soon as we adopt it, as soon as we approve the strategic plan, which every board has to do, then you're basically saying that we are in concert, that those are the same that we have, right?
Right. They have to be the same.
Right, and so that's why that last paragraph, I kind of thought instead of listing it in our governing policy, that could cover it, or we could even list it. Okay, in Roman numeral 5.
Yeah.
And then I put, cite the strategic plan link right there. Or we include it, and just so that it's straight up that,
Well, yeah, the question is who sets our mission beliefs?
well,
Does the community set it or do we set it?
it's a strategic plan, I'm sure you developed many of them as a principal. It's a shared community input to come up with the vision and with the mission. It was done in 2013, and when you go on to our
Oh, yeah.
district,
And that's where the mission vision it came out of,
Right, right.
that whole community.
and it's supposed to, because then the
Yes.
plan, the strategic plan then makes that vision and mission come true. This is how we are going to achieve, how we're going to do that.
Right, but they stated, so the way it's stated in the current policy is correct. The beliefs, mission, and vision are derived from the strategic plan.
No, the strategic plan is derived from those.
Well, you just told me it was the opposite.
The mission vision
stakeholders.
came out of the strategic plan, when that's the
Okay.
original one.
Okay, so when you are gathering to have a strategic plan, you always start with what your vision is
Mhm. Right,
and your mission.
right.
And then the plan comes after.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you see? So you have to have a vision, otherwise how do you know how to plan to get there? You have to have a mission, and so then the plan should be the way that you're going to make all that happen. So David, unless I'm way off, when I read the original, it says the board's core beliefs, mission and vision,
Mhm.
of which we actually don't have any stated. The board doesn't, other than through the district strategic plan, are derived from the strategic plan.
Well, they're derived from the strategic plan process. Aren't they?
Okay, well,
Right.
then I think that we need to say, because when I read that, it's derived from the plan. So-
Right, the way it's worded now, it's from the plan, and I see how that wording could be thought of as correct. The way you describe it, the process is first you do the vision, then you do the plan.
Right.
So part of the process is developing the beliefs, the mission. So it's really derived from the strategic plan mission. And where I get hung up is, we have to decide, is it the board's mission, vision, beliefs, or is it the stakeholders and districts? Which goes back to this diagram.
So were board members involved in creating
Yeah.
that?
So it's all together, but the board doesn't do it.
The board just approves it and therefore adopts and embraces it, right?
There were some board members on the committee, the group, but then the whole plan, everything came back. They didn't have a quorum of board members on the group, but there was, some representation. And then the board as a whole adopted, they voted on when everything
Right.
came back.
Accepted the strategic plan.
Mhm.
So, are you suggesting that the mission and vision are going to change? I was kind of under the impression when they started to update the strategic plan that I wasn't thinking that they were looking at changing the mission and the vision statement.
Well, I don't know if they are.
Usually, from my experience, those don't change, because the mission of the school district doesn't change. I mean.
Right. No, I'm not suggesting that it's going to change.
Yeah,
The crux of the matter is basically, as listed, when we were going through this introduction
Right,
here, that's
yeah.
what why
yeah,
that conversation ensued. So, maybe David, like you said, you interpreted that sentence differently than I did.
Just wanna. So we could have put stakeholders at the top, and they develop the mission, the vision, beliefs, and the plan comes out of that. I'll try that.
Yeah,
I'll
that's,
try.
that's my understanding how it is.
And you're right.
Yeah.
Apparently, that is the way it was done.
And we're in the, so the revision that's taking place, so that's been sent in, has taken information from Dr. Rodriguez's, listen and learns? I mean, has that,
I hope so.
I think that's what,
That's what Mary said.
that's
think
what
so.
Mary said, yeah, yeah.
Because they're using that as the community input
Mhm.
is basically from all the listen and learn.
Yeah,
So, anyway, I think that introduction page is a good page to have, but I thought it might be also a good place to add a little more about what this manual is all about, this coherent governance manual, or handbook, or,
I agree.
yeah.
I agree. But I think the definitions are also very important. Somewhere we have to do the definitions, you know, when the manual says, whatever it is, the manual says, you know, board, it refers to the Board of Education. When it says this, it refers to this.
right.
You know, all attorneys like that stuff. Results, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe it's not, you know, I don't know. It was put in there because there was disagreement over what some of the words meant. So,
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, well, let's put definitions up front.
So that, you're looking at F, David? You're reading F?
Actually, the whole number one,
Okay, yeah,
you know, where referred to, it means,
yeah.
we can always come back to that. I mean, that could be an appendix, I guess. Doesn't have to be part of the policies,
Well, and then the second part of that, under board's purpose, when reading this, and again, it says under board's purpose, and then I was referencing the book. This is the core beliefs in how you make a decision. Rachel, I'm talking about GC1, board purpose.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, it says guided in its decision-making by
Right.
the following beliefs. Yeah.
Right, and that's different, Kathy, than what the core
Then
beliefs
what our
are for
core
the
beliefs
strategic
are,
plan.
yes, yeah.
So what you'll see at the bottom of my email are just some thoughts
Right.
on taking some of the ideas that were present in the Horry County one, and just maybe some thoughts on what we, you know, they of course have to be, you know, be voted on, but just some thoughts on what would be important on making decisions. So anyway, that's what I did with my task.
Thank you, Tricia, that's awesome. I really appreciate you digging into that.
I like the district needs over individual needs. I like that.
So where do you think these beliefs would be stated?
Right here.
Right under the decision making.
Oh, I see them there,
Yeah.
but you're okay with that, right? That they would be there?
Right,
These, every student can learn, blah, 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 blah.
no,
No, I
no.
don't think so. No,
And these are
no.
the ones that are from the district strategic
Oh,
plan.
Okay, I got
These
you.
right here, a majority of them are the same as right here, on this sheet of paper that came, okay? And that was what our small group or small committee recommended. But David, in reading it more closely, they're two different,
They're two different things.
they're two different
Yeah.
things.
So where does that go?
that
So-
stays with the strategic plan.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That
part of the
stays in the
strategic,
strategic plan.
right, and we don't adopt that into using those as our decision-making beliefs. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense, but I have to, and Rachel knows this because I said this at the last policy committee. I think about the audience that reads this.
Mhm.
The public reads the policy manual. I don't think they read the strategic governance. So I don't know.
Well, David, it wouldn't be a bad idea, like you just said, to take that entire, the vision, the mission, and the core beliefs of the district strategic plan, and adding that to the front, saying that, or as an appendix, you know, saying,
I'm sorry, Rachel?
Sorry, did you call me?
No.
The phone was not very clear for David for some reason. I could hear the beginning of what he said, but not the end.
She could hear your beginning.
Oh, the beginning?
I heard the beginning of what you said,
Oh,
and then it kind of dropped off there.
Yeah, I tend to do that. A lot of people read the manual, the policy manual. Not many people read the strategic governance manual. So, as you know from the policy committee, your policy committee, I always think that's something we have to keep in mind, that they don't, constituents go out and read this. They don't read the strategic. So sometimes you put stuff in here because you know they're gonna read it.
mhm.
And so I agree with you, if we could put it in somewhere, I would say in the front.
Yeah, and I think it would be important to really put on there, you know, these are the guiding principles of the strategic plan, which is way different than the coherent governing manual. I mean, not way different, I mean, they're documents that support the progress of a school district, but they have two separate purposes. This is our governing policy manual. This is what guides the district in developing their 5-year plan to get the district to where it needs to be. And this is written by community stakeholders.
Right, okay, so here's my question.
Okay.
Getting it where it needs to be,
Mhm.
I'm with you that far.
Yeah.
Who defines that?
See,
Do we define it in the policies? Or do the stakeholders define it in the strategic plan?
well, if you open up the strategic plan, Kathy, did you write those when you were in North Carolina?
We
have to
did.
write them? And they're not,
but they were broad statements.
mhm.
You know, broad statements, and then each school was responsible for taking those broad statements and developing an action plan as to how we were going to support those broad statements.
Right. So,
And broad statements are like the definition of policies. So, you know, I
Yeah.
wanna make sure we have a clear distinction. Or
Um,
at least I do in my mind.
So, let's see, our strategic plan, the school district strategic plan, indicator 1, engage in a comprehensive process to review, revise, and communicate. Okay, you know, I mean, things like that, which are not as specific as what our results section. Right, so how do the two marry? I'm not sure. I mean, I think they just are parallel.
Well, let's think of it this way. There should be a check. There should be some part of our oversight should be looking at the various components of the strategic plan. So if you take that broad that statement that you just read, I would bet that one was about making sure, read it again, please.
was going
Sorry.
down. That's okay.
Okay,
Engage in a comprehensive process to review, revise, and communicate that our purpose is to create student success.
but our purpose is to create student success.
So that came under community.
Okay,
Yeah, again, remember, you
Yeah.
know, I'm more familiar with a school-based strategic
Right.
plan, because you do have all those metrics in there, you know, that in 2-3 years, X% will increase and so on. This district plan is a little more general,
very general.
and, again, so that's why I'm thinking it's a parallel world to ours governing.
But I would bet the things that we're governing, you could probably draw an arrow to those and say, you know, we are engaging, you know, this is, when something in our governing policy probably talks about, oh, there's something about engaging stakeholders, isn't
It
there?
is.
Yeah, yeah, so,
So there could be a
yeah,
crosswalk.
it could be a crosswalk, but.
You know, for this one, establish performance measures for student learning that yield information that is reliable, valid, and free of bias. You know, so it's not.
Well, that's the
got that
metrics, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Robin, can you share, or do you recall how previous boards have integrated the strategic plan into alignment with their processes or anything?
The processes came from the strategic plan.
The boards?
Okay, so the board didn't, when they moved to the strategic plan, everything came from there. Everything they did came from that, when they developed PEs, when they did, because it was just all one. What used to be the board policies, or which were the ARs now, were the board policies.
Okay,
And so when we moved to strategic governance, the policies now became the administrative rules. But those were the policy, the administrative rules were the board policies.
when did strategic governance,
Policy governance came under Herman, strategic governance, or what we think of, came under Valerie. And that's when, under Valerie, that's when the policy governance moved to strategic. So that means that's when we changed the policies to ARs.
okay,
So it's like 2010, 2011.
Yeah, I can,
so, and do I remember Dr. Torrey saying that strategic governance is now known as Coherent?
correct,
Right,
yes.
so it's just one and the
Right.
same.
So it's the one and the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Just renamed it.
Right,
All right, I'm gonna struggle with this a little. And I realize one of my problems is I'm used to the board representing the stockholders.
I know.
So everything comes down from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to get over that.
Well, see, that's what I struggled with this weekend, is I was like, okay, so wait a minute, this is not as linear, or, you know?
Right.
And so, so that's why, you know, when I was thinking, okay, so then, as soon as the board approves the strategic plan with the mission, vision, and plan in it, it becomes the district's vision, but our results and our OEs are the oversight to that.
To that strategic plan, I think, to
Yeah,
kind
but
of-
not, I mean, you
Yeah.
know, the problem with using the same words, we can't be
Yeah.
careful, you know, we gotta be very careful about the words, because they mean different things. Well, I'm sorry, Rachel.
No, I was agreeing with you, yeah. Because it can create confusion very quickly.
Yes.
So the goals come out of the strategic plan.
who's
We
those?
develop the results from the goals. That's how we did it.
Oh, okay, so the board goals,
Oh, they're district goals. And the board goals. You know, there should be no difference.
Right,
There shouldn't, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
but those particular goals, they weren't enumerated in the district plan, were they?
The board developed them.
Right. So that's why I'm thinking,
That's the problem.
yeah.
Board shouldn't have developed them. They should have just taken them out of the strategic plan.
well, I believe in this case, the board did the right thing because the strategic plan was,
I'm not,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking
yeah,
structurally how it should have been done. I don't think it was bad, because we didn't have any goals before that.
mhm,
And the strategic plan kind of decayed all by itself off on the side. But
'Cause it
structurally,
wasn't
theoretically,
used, yeah.
mhm.
it should come from the strategic plan.
Should all be aligned.
Yes.
And all we do is govern, we don't set all the mission, vision, beliefs, we don't do that. Stakeholders do that.
Right, but we approve it, and if we find that, you know, is
I
just
wonder
not,
who we are to approve that.
Wonder what?
I hear you.
Yeah,
Who
Mhm.
are we to disagree with the stakeholders?
Right,
right.
You know?
mhm.
Whoa, there's a lot of big issues here. I didn't anticipate today. I thought we were just going to.
Well,
Well, you know, I think until we see what the final product is of the strategic plan, so the update was sent to the state. Where are we in that process? Because we missed it, a deadline was missed, remember, with,
Right, and they told us all we had to do is that when Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Stratos started, that all they had to do in order to just be okay is to update some of the testing data,
Right.
right?
that's right.
And so now, the ISD and Dr. Rodriguez, they're in the process of writing it for,
But the next,
For the state, they're writing it for the state.
right, for the next
for
5
the
years.
next 5 years.
Right,
That big document, that's what you're looking online, that's what they're rewriting for because that's
Right.
Right.
that's our 5-year.
right.
Our 5-year plan.
Mhm. So,
And then there's an annual strategic plan that's updated by the schools each year.
Right? Yeah,
So that, I think, and some of that also gets convoluted in people trying to, in terminology.
mhm.
yes, yeah,
Well, and I know, you know, at the school level, everybody, you have to go through and say, how are we as far as meeting our goal for indicator 1? You know, sub indicator. And
Right.
so, I think that the school also, I mean, the district also has to do a little update. Okay, this is where we are in our strategic plan. And then you write a brand new one 5 years later. So 2013, it should have been a brand new
Right.
5-year plan, should have been written in 2018.
Correct, and
Right.
it wasn't.
And it
It
wasn't,
wasn't.
right. So, again, how does that help with,
I still think there's major indicators in that, broad indicators in that strategic plan. And then the schools get it and they say, okay, maybe there's 5 indicators. And then the schools, you know, okay, at Berry Hill Elementary School, what are we gonna do to, move this indicator forward? How are we gonna measure it? What are we gonna do and how's it gonna be measured?
Right.
This is the indicator. So the board's responsibility then would be to, approve this strategic plan, right? We approve it, and then we oversee it. So we would be asking for, okay, let's see the documentation from indicator 1. What do you have that you're meeting indicator 1? Indicator 2, let's see the documentation. What do you have? Right? Does that make sense? I mean, because we're overseeing the, it's our job to oversee it, to
so,
make sure that it's
Right.
being done, because in a sense, our constituents are represented in the strategic plan. Let's just say they're represented because they were involved in writing it, right?
Right.
They gave feedback or whatever. Then once we approve it, then we own it, right? Isn't that the thing with coherent governance? If we approve it, we own it.
yeah, So Kathy,
We're responsible. for it.
responsible, yeah.
to extrapolate from your idea, so here is, under human resources, 2.1.3. Okay, so indicator 1, recruit, employ, and mentor qualified professional staff. And so, improve 5-year staff retention rates. So, I think what you said is that the last board pulled from the strategic plan the PEs, which are our OEs,
OEs.
which is what our oversight is.
Right.
But it all came from here.
That's where they got their PEs from. The PEs were
Mhm.
developed by looking at the strategic plan. So what our job, once the new strategic plan comes out, our job will be to take our PEs that we've converted to OEs and make sure that they still match up.
And where do the results come from?
Well,
Because the OEs are not results.
no, they're compliance,
Right.
right,
Mhm.
right.
So
But then the
where do
results,
come from?
the results section, well,
If there's a 5-year thing in the strategic plan, like
Yeah.
I know in the old one under Valerie,
Mhm.
they had measurable statistics for 5 years, out
Mhm.
for
Right.
5 years. So it's supposed to be in the strategic plan, the measurable statistics,
Okay, well, the results, let me give you just,
results, are
okay.
supposed to be in the
Yeah.
strategic plan.
literacy. Student achievement and literacy will be measured according to the strategic plan performance goals
yeah.
and annual results.
And what is this?
Numeracy,
And, well, see, that's where it throws me when it says and the annual results. There should be the same.
well, except for that I do believe somewhere in the data that, you know, you got your 5-year goal, but you have your,
Extrapolations, how you're gonna get
benchmarks.
there.
you know,
Well, the 5-year goal has an every year goal.
right. So that's, I think,
That's the results.
the annual
Yeah.
results, the strategic plan goals and annual results. How close am I to getting to that
Yeah,
goal?
that's what I would think it
So it's
is.
already in the strategic plan.
Well, David, you know what, I didn't see the numerical part in here online. I do know that in a school-based one,
Why? 'Cause
they are there.
Because it rotted away.
Right, that's what those are
It
taken
had
out,
never,
because, right,
never got updated. It never, no one ever looked
So,
at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
right.
why I kept pressing the
yeah, we took
results.
them off because
Yeah.
they weren't Jeff's results and they
Yeah.
were never,
Yeah,
the last ones were, what the results
Just
were
ignored.
Valerie's, right.
yeah,
And,
they
no,
were just
but-
ignored. Which is why I
It's-
kept saying, we don't have any results in there, we don't have any results in there. So, yeah, this turns everything kind of on its head for me. Strategic plan should be guiding everything. And the policies are just about, as you said, it's just about how we govern.
It's governing.
The results come out of the strategic plan.
Well, those are the OEs then.
The-
Don't think, I mean, most of these other things.
The OEs are just interims to
governance-
the results, right? They're just interims. You get reported during the year on the OEs. But
See-
the results are, I mean, I don't know.
Well, the results are the quantifiable metrics, right?
Mhm.
The OEs are kind of the overall functioning, the oversight. I mean, that's,
I'm having a hard time.
yeah, hey, and they were great questions, and this is the kind of conversation, because the last thing we want to do is develop this and not have things align,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or,
Right. I don't want it to be as sloppy as last time.
Right.
right.
Well, here, in the results, in the Horry County, they have R1, district mission. But they don't have anything, when you go to their R1, it's the literacy. So I don't know what happened to that district mission. They do have, R8, personal perception of stakeholders, career and college readiness, personal success and citizenship, see, to me, these broad statements are probably indicators.
Absolutely.
That were in the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, are you looking at the original ORIs? Because that one, in your last one, I took out the things that you all said delete from ORI. So if you're looking at a yellow highlighted, that's not the original. That's the one that I have. So if you want the original ORI, I can go back and get you the
Well, I
original.
think I have it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Dave, do you see?
Mhm. So that's the only place strategic plan is actually mentioned in the warning, right?
Okay, what am I looking
You're not looking at the original one.
at? Yep.
They also have, district consolidated goals.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. And to me,
Ooh,
You see, you saw something you liked? Okay, this is the original.
Right.
So strategic plan performance goals. It's gotta all work together,
think so.
guys. It has got to all work together. And then Kathy, you said the district consolidated goals, and so that's,
well, the district consolidated goals seem to be, well, they're the stakeholders' perceptions. They just seem like things that, personal success and citizenship. Now, that one's not on here as a district consolidated goal, but there's a results goal for that.
Of course, this is in the bylaws section.
Is it?
Yes.
No?
yeah,
Oh, but the stuff before it isn't.
Yeah, the stuff.
The-
You
the
think this
Rs.
is part of R8? No, it's not part of R8.
it says bylaws, doesn't it?
Yeah, it says bylaws.
At the top.
But not on R8.
Not on
It's
No,
R8.
not in
Not on
our,
R8.
It's not
No, you're right.
an R anything.
Yeah.
R7 is a bylaw on R8.
I think that's misnamed. To me, those are results. Those
Sure
aren't
seems that
bylaws.
way.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
So, strategic plan performance goals, yeah.
So since we have to get a hold of the strategic plan to find out what the goals are, to put them in. And that would be our results section.
Right, that's our results section.
Mhm.
But I think we can still carry on with going through the governing section,
yes.
the other, move forward with that. Because that's the process. The governing section is the process for these, for how we're gonna conduct ourselves, how we're gonna do business versus what business we're doing.
Mhm.
The results section is, to me, what business we're doing, right? What business we're what,
How we're,
how we're
evaluating.
evaluating.
So
What business we're
governing-
you might say, OEs are what business we're doing,
Oversight,
oversight, results is
evaluation.
evaluation. And board superintendent and governance culture is just the process that we're gonna use to do all that.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess it does. I'm spinning,
Yeah.
Mhm.
trying
That's what
to reorient myself here.
David, that's exactly how I felt this weekend when I was thinking about strategic plan, and I'm looking it up, and I mean, it's kind of like, okay, wait, I know it has to fit together. And even though they're parallel documents, they have to be in the same universe, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think, Rachel?
I don't even think they're parallel because the results come out of the strategic plan.
You're right, you're right,
So
You're right.
everything comes down out of the strategic plan.
except
Go ahead.
governance,
The governance. And
right,
And it sounds to me like, and maybe Robert can answer this. You know, when was the last time the board paid any attention to the strategic plan?
Just give us the decade.
Yeah,
Back when it was initiated, but.
yeah, so see, that's the,
2013?
that's the previous boards haven't,
Because they were going, under Dr. Moss, they started with, they were going to update it, because that would have been, in fact, they did do, the last time that was there, that was the last time it was looked at. So that
Okay.
was under, whatever the year is, 2013. That was the last time anything was done with it. Because that was under Dr. Moss, and that's, with that board. So that's the last time we did anything with it.
that's, you know, what happens with strategic plans, the states require them. So they get written, and then the school district usually brings it back. This is from my personal experience. They give it to the schools and say, you write your response to this. And depending upon the leadership of the school, some do a really good job and some do, you know, very broad with nothing. And some pull them off the shelf. You know, every month we had ours out and used them at a faculty meeting, and my colleagues, the teachers would say, we haven't looked at that for 2 years.
Now, the schools do their, because they had to be turned in.
Right,
But the 5-year plan had not been updated since. But the schools did do theirs, except for when it missed its deadline last year.
but the school plan should be used to update the 5-year plan. So every year, when the school annual plans are done, they should go to someplace where they're looked at and, but,
Right, so I think our job, and it's a pretty big job, is to get this all in alignment. And we know that we're already this far down the road this year. So you know, when we develop our goals for the board, they should come right from the strategic plan. And I don't know,
and I would bet that our goals that we have, they're gonna be covered.
they
in
do,
the
I mean, like
strategic
that
plan.
one,
Yeah.
teacher retention,
Yeah,
it's right
teacher
in there.
retention,
But it would be really good to show that a lot, you know,
yes, absolutely, yeah.
strategic plan,
Indicator,
number one
number,
point.
yes, exactly, yep.
Right.
Yeah, there's one goal that's probably not in the strategic plan, and that's manage the superintendent. That's a board goal.
Yes.
Mhm.
And develop policies. That's a
Right.
board goal.
Right.
All right. Pay no attention to that diagram.
Okay. Are you reworking it in your head?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, pay no attention to that. Because now the strategic plan has to go up top.
Mhm.
And you can cross out the goals piece.
Because, yeah, the strategic plan incorporates.
The goals are in the strategic plan.
So the
we don't
mission and
have
the
any
vision.
goals. And the policies already cover, I think, the managing of the superintendent and the development of policies. That's
Right.
already in the policies.
That's
So-
in the policies,
So when you
that's
look at
all
our
here.
goals,
Yeah.
our board goals, we don't need them. Goals either come out of the strategic plan or they're in the policies. So we cross that box out. Administrative regs.
And the OEs come right out of the strategic plan.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything.
yeah, right on the
Yeah.
strategic
So
plan.
the results.
So really, under strategic plan, you could put goals, because they come
Oh, so I'm gonna move the strategic plan
up
up to the
there,
top.
okay, yeah.
And then cross out the goals. And I'll see how the rest of it fits. And that's kind of a straight line down to OEs and results.
Yeah,
Although I thought OEs led to results. Just because it's either comply or not comply, it's not measurable, so.
right. Although, you know, the coherent governance does say you know, this is an accountability factor for the superintendent.
Yeah, and I'm confused by that, because it's either yes, no. It's-
Yeah.
And,
Was
unless
there a
it-
third thing on there? Was compliant, non-compliant?
that's all I remember was compliant and non-compliant.
Okay.
The OE policies are the standards for the entire operational side of the organization. The results policies are the outcome standards.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I thought the OEs lead to the results.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
All right, I'll rework that diagram, so we don't have to spend time on that. But I am so much more confused than when I walked in.
Sorry.
I'm not confused, I just have to reorient my thinking.
Well, there's, you know what? I think
And I
this is.
think the whole board is gonna have that issue.
Mhm.
This is a big reorientation. Because
It's
we
a
have
paradigm
never talked,
shift.
how often have we talked about the strategic plan?
Not since I've been
Yeah.
on board, other than when we found out it hadn't been submitted.
But that it had,
Right?
Yeah.
that.
Or it hadn't been updated,
Yeah,
it's only
yeah,
the
right.
only two times we ever talked about it.
Yeah.
And then when it hadn't been submitted, I said, yeah, it's a state thing, yeah, you do it to give it to the state, yeah. I didn't realize its impact.
Yeah.
And I don't think reading that book helped me understand
Realizing that the
the
impact.
impact of the strategic, because it was like an appendix, it was like an afterthought.
So,
It didn't really tell me.
so who wrote this? So my thought is that whomever wrote this, even though I did not read that sentence the same way you read the sentence,
That came from
they
when,
understood.
when that came from the strategic plan.
But my point is that whomever wrote this, they understood it.
Because
Right.
that was when the strategic plan was updated, the vision, mission report came from that.
Yeah, I can't imagine
And so
that the
they've
vision
changed
and
it
mission
every-
are gonna change though, that's
Were
my,
the Aspen people helping with that?
No,
Oh.
no,
So somebody
that came.
historically understood how this worked.
This, yes, this came from, Jarita Postaway. She was the one who led us through that.
So she
and then-
understood
Right.
how it worked.
And
And
she,
nobody since her,
Um,
in my experience. The 4 years I've been on the board, nobody understood this. Or
The
at least
board
they didn't
member-
articulate it.
Right, the board members probably didn't quite understand it. Phyllis was the one who kind of kept it going and was the staff, senior staff presidential, staying up on the strategic plan. But when the board did that and updated the strategic plan, it was led through the process with Jarita Postaway.
and she is.
She is now superintendent in Charleston, but she was the one of the ORI.
Okay.
Okay. Well, the policies sure they're no big deal then, as you say, just governing things.
yeah, that, I mean,
It's governing things, that's fine.
well,
They're not mission, vision, results. That's all strategic plan. OEs all come out of strategic plan.
Well, because that's
The
what the
governance
PEs are.
culture, yeah,
The
right.
PEs came
came
from the
out
strategic plan.
strategic plan, right.
Right, that's how, I remember asking you that way in the beginning, where did these all come from?
The strategic
The
plan,
strategic
Yeah.
plan,
the 5-year strategic plan.
right.
It's gonna be a big bang work session.
But that's not gonna change, those are not gonna change
No.
much. I mean, with this, because they're all basic to education.
They're all big item
They're all
ideas.
big
They
item
are.
ideas that
Right.
have to go
That's right.
to move the school forward, so that's.
And
you know,
have to be overseen.
Yeah,
And
have to be
right.
monitored and, you know,
You would
Yeah.
think the numbers would change.
you would hope.
The numbers will have to change.
Yeah.
Every year, the numbers are.
Yeah.
And you should,
Not
in
every
a
5 years, every year they have.
right, and in a strategic plan, you should see how the stair steps to get to the 5-year goal.
Oh, I see it,
Yeah.
You
but
know,
I'm saying you can't just do that every 5 years. The end of the first year, you gotta look back and say, okay, we did better than we thought, so.
that's why they send the update. They send that update
that's
every
the-
year to the
That's
state.
the updates to the state.
Yep, okay, so look at our numeracy.
recalibrate all
We're
those
already at our
numbers.
goal, so now we need to recalibrate,
Right.
exactly,
Okay, that I understand.
as I understand. I mean, you
That
know, this is,
I get that now.
So when your results kind of already, was like when Mary was talking about when they were working on the strategic plan, I asked her where was Dr. Rodriguez, I said, because the results that the board has already put together for his evaluation, I said, that has to be a part of your strategic plan. So you all need to
Right.
take what was already established, I guess we kind of work backwards, but those need to be a part of their strategic plan. And she's like, you're right. So the work that you did as the results, I want to say I'm 99% sure that those are going to be what they put in for the strategic plan, because you gave them like a 5-year,
We
We
get two.
gave
I
them
mean a
two.
2-year.
Yeah, we
We
gave
gave them 2. Well,
but Daniel was supposed to take those and then
And then work them
out.
and work and work them
yeah,
out.
yeah.
That's
And,
right.
and you know what? We didn't give him any categories or anything that he wouldn't have done.
absolutely, I'm
You know,
sure.
yeah, I mean,
Graduation.
yeah.
We might have missed something.
What?
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, the strategic plan might have other things in there that we didn't consider.
Well, and I'm sure there's probably an old copy of the old strategic plan that does have some of the
I need to.
metrics in it. But, I think it's really
That's
crucial
what you
that
looked at
we,
with Joan.
So I'll look at the new one whenever,
yeah,
I'll look at the new strategic plan. It just seems like this has all gotta come together. That was that
Yes.
whole diagram thing in my head. It's just gotta come together somehow.
yeah.
Because I didn't have the pieces fit. We're getting a better picture.
yeah.
And that visual is gonna be crucial to explaining it to the rest of the board. That visual.
Oh, yeah, gonna be crucial to explaining it to me. If I can't draw that diagram, then I don't understand it.
So the questions that, you know, the strategic plan drives these things. It drives the OEs and the results.
And mission,
And the mission, well, to me, the mission and the vision drive the strategic plan. You can't plan for a mission that you don't know. You have to articulate
I
the
got
mission,
that. I
yeah,
got that.
yeah, right?
So as I understand it, and you were in the district one, but I believe that that's always where you start. You start with what,
oh, yeah, I agree.
what's our vision?
I agree.
And, you know, and
I
then
agree.
so you start with the,
That's part of the first step you do in the process
Right.
Yeah.
before you plan.
right.
So this is first.
So this is that wording thing we got.
Our
Yeah.
wording is, because some of these words are very close, and we have to make sure
It didn't come
that,
out of the strategic plan, but it came out of the process of developing the strategic plan.
right.
So, you know, these part,
You can't have the circles.
oh, this part all works together.
You have to say it so
I know.
so Rachel can know what you're talking
No.
about too.
It has to be straight
It's
lines.
it's these things that are almost on a
governance.
different governance, and so if we have a bar,
Yep. Oh, I am
This
getting
is
it.
governance.
Is that parallel part?
and this is, I don't know, strategic plan or governance or
Operational.
operational.
It's
Yeah.
the
What do we say,
operations.
with the operational and results, right?
Yeah, yeah, the OEs and the results are there.
Are under here, and the governance is here. So the question is,
And the CE,
Can't be that
the
way.
superintendent relationship
relationships
is right there.
Right, with the governance.
'Cause that's-
right. So, do they
The
cross
governance is-
over to
Yeah,
here?
the governance is parallel,
Yeah,
right,
Right.
yeah. And the board and
to some
superintendent,
extent.
yeah.
To some
Knowing that one influence, I mean.
Right.
Yes.
extent. The governance, to some extent, is parallel.
So the question for me is the ARs.
That to me is internal operations.
Okay,
That's how they send those out to the principals to say, this is how we grade, this is how we do this. The ARs, the administrative, right? That
Administrative
is how
regulars.
the daily business gets done.
so,
And those are the things that change all the time with
State.
the state coming down saying, now this becomes this, and you have to follow
Right.
this rule,
Right.
and you know that.
Right.
well, what,
But they have to be derived from somewhere. They can't be created on their own.
and that's what,
That's why they're all linked to policies now.
Right.
yeah,
And maybe they should be linked to strategic plan, I don't know.
I'll link to,
They can't be developed on their own. Because they're under the purview of the superintendent.
Ask the question.
That's how we got into that hole.
How could they, so if the state sends down a reg that there's not a policy for, the state is then driving the administrative reg, so it does kind of come up before a policy, because the state would also drive.
Right, we have a policy to follow all the state regs.
yes,
Okay, so
Right.
then if that's the case, then all of them, okay,
Right,
yeah,
okay, gotcha.
okay.
right.
So you have
The
that.
reason I'm bringing that up
Yes.
is because of the whole nepotism issue.
Got it. No,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
exactly right. So did you see that in there about the ARs? Okay. So we just need to
No.
make sure we make a note.
I'm still on the diagram.
Got it. Okay, but that
ARs
would
are
be the
derived
way.
from policies.
Because I'm trying to imagine how are we gonna do all those ARs to every policy, but that's not what you're saying. You're just saying that the administrative regulations will,
Have to be linked. They can't come from somewhere else.
yeah, can't
They
just
have
be
to be
hanging
linked to a
out.
policy. They're following state statute, they're following
Got it.
state
So
regs.
smoking or
There.
tobacco use, it comes
Smoke.
from, that follows under a state policy, or
Right.
that
Right.
clear back
And
thing.
like we had a nepotism policy,
Yeah.
so that AR had to
Right.
come out of that.
Got it,
It
okay.
couldn't be developed on its own, because we got into a problem when the ARs were developed
So how would you
by
link,
the superintendent.
we'll use the one with the clear bag, that became an AR. That didn't come from a policy first, and that came
No, it
from.
didn't.
Did that come from the state though? I thought I read something from.
No, it didn't.
Oh.
No, it did
The
not.
athletic
It came from the athletic directors.
But that was the
Its link was
safety.
to safety.
Safety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
certainly, I mean,
So then
Safe.
it would be
Something.
linked back to a safety policy.
Right.
Something.
Okay, okay.
yeah.
And
David, that's a really good point though. Nothing can just be hanging out there by itself.
yeah, nobody can create stuff.
Right.
It has to be derived from something.
Mhm.
And the discipline is more important actually than the execution on nowadays. That everyone needs to understand that everything's derived from something else.
Mhm.
That you can't just make stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
3,400 so far.
Wow. Who had 3,400 on the pool?
Is that from the survey?
Responses to the survey.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I was thinking coronavirus. I mean,
Yeah.
that number's in my head.
The general sense is the sport the way it is now.
That's what I think. But you can never predict.
Yeah.
I thought the Ravens would be in the Super Bowl for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'll try to redo that diagram based on my understanding now. Which aligns better with the way y'all are thinking. Which seems to align with the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think so,
Seems like it.
yeah,
Because I'll go back to what Robin told us. At some point, somebody knew how it worked.
right.
We lost that,
And-
Yeah, institutional knowledge,
Yeah.
knowledge.
yeah.
Well, and it's just,
So
You
this is
know-
really important what we're doing.
as we sat there and read the book and had the in-service or whatever, I think we all thought, this is what we're supposed to be doing, but we're not doing it, basically, right?
Right?
Mhm.
And that was the,
But apparently it was set up once,
uh,
but it was never done. They never looked at the results,
But then how did,
because the results didn't support their impression of the superintendent, so they disregarded them.
So then, how did it get to this? Was it
Um,
from this center?
Mishmash.
Yeah, okay,
Like I said, at the work session, I was on 2 of the policy committees, and we were developing policies with no understanding at all about coherent governance. We were developing policies based on our experience in the board and trying to develop policies that would stop some of the discussions and clarify things. But we didn't we had never talked about strategic governance, so
Yeah.
we didn't
Yeah.
know what we were doing.
yeah.
We just went through and said, oh, this policy's bad, it needs to go, we need another new policy in here.
This, once we get through this, is gonna make it so much clearer. And it's going to show how important that strategic plan is.
Yeah,
So David, going back to your idea that at the beginning of this, maybe there should be the strategic plan, you know, I mean, there should, like you said, much more of a reference to it. Much
I
more,
think-
more so than what I even recommended
Well-
in number 5.
somewhere it has to be.
Yeah,
Somewhere it has to be, I think, the issues we're discussing, how it all fits together.
Yeah.
Certainly, we have the diagram, we have to have some explanation. And it won't be a policy, but it'll be an
An
introduction.
introduction.
yeah,
And I, you know, I think if we take these things that Tricia came up with and add the diagram with an explanation of the diagram, I think that's what it is.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Rachel, you with us?
Yep.
I know we're not doing any pauses to let you get in.
No, I'm listening, I'm taking it all in, and
Okay,
I'm here.
all right.
Side note, Rachel, I just sent you an email, did you see it?
Hang on, gotta grab the other device. I did get one of them that had the, about NTSBA?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I got it.
I did ask at the work session, I asked Peggy, what are the goals? What are the goals? And she couldn't answer. She said, oh, put them in your policies. So, she didn't get the
and
strategic
the results
plan fit.
policies. Right?
Yeah.
I remember you
Yeah.
asking her that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So, yeah, not enough emphasis there.
right. I mean, if we just spent every, meeting talking about our goals,
Well, that's why it's on the
we
agenda.
would, I know, we would be in
But we
good
don't do
shape.
it,
I
yeah.
know. I mean,
That was the reason we put it
Yeah.
on the agenda. This is what the superintendent should be talking
right,
about.
exactly. Yeah.
These things.
Yeah,
Well, but it went on there, but it never really worked too
yeah.
much.
Well, we can change that, I think
All
we
right.
can,
Yeah.
yeah.
Me too.
Now, can we do the mapping and consistent with our new understanding still be okay?
I think so.
Okay. All right, we got 45 minutes to get through this, I think we can do it. And we start with 2.3, Roman numeral 2. I think that's where we started, based on where we left off last time. Two, three, Roman numeral 2, which is the board continually study and evaluate written policies and reports concerning execution of its written policies to determine the adequacy and effectiveness of those policies. Yada, yada, yada. I thought that went to GC2 number 2 and GC6 2B. Or not 2B.
We're on 2.2 or 2.3?
2.3, Roman numeral 2.
Okay. board will continually study.
Yeah, continually study, and I thought GC two, number 2, covered that.
Number 2 is, responsible for its own performance.
And the last sentence is, the board regularly systematically monitors all policies
This is in this
in
section.
this section. I thought that pretty much
Okay.
took care of this.
And then on number 6,
Mhm.
the board will direct the organization through policy. That doesn't say. Number 7, the board by majority vote may revise or amend the policies at any time. However, as a customer, then it just,
I got GC6 2B, scheduled monitoring of all policies, other events and activities.
oh,
That's where I
under the
thought.
work plan. GC6,
GC6 2B. It says schedule, it says the board annual work plan will include scheduled monitoring of all policies.
yep,
So I thought that took care of this one.
So that takes care
Of
of policy
number 2.
2.3, Roman
Roman
numeral
numeral
2.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am, I think so. Well, Rachel, you okay?
Yep,
Okay.
I agree.
okay.
Okay, now we get to 2.3, Roman numeral 3.
What did we do with Roman numeral 1?
I don't know, that wasn't on the quadrant.
Okay.
We had handbook, so it's
Oh,
it's
okay,
down here.
it's down in the handbook section.
The small
Okay,
group.
now we go to Roman numeral 3, which is each policy will require 2 readings. Blah, blah, blah. I thought that was covered in GC2 number 7.
It is.
By majority vote, however, the customary practice is discussed in one session.
And then voted on,
approved
approved at a subsequent.
Subsequent board meeting, so I thought that was taken care of
Yeah.
by GC2 number 7. Okay, 2.3, you agree, Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you don't agree, just hit one of the keys on your phone.
Yeah.
It'll make a noise for us.
Yes.
It'll make a noise for us. We're on 2.34, an emergency situation. Oh, yeah, I thought that had to be added to GC2 number 7, because I don't think it's covered.
Yeah, it's definitely not covered.
Yeah, I didn't think it was covered, and I think it's valuable.
So that's part of, you think it's part of
I
7?
think we should add it to
Is that the
GC.
emergency?
Yeah,
Yeah.
emergency situations.
Yeah,
I think that's valuable. I think that needs to be in there.
I agree.
Should that be like a number 8 and I push 8 down to 9?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
I mean, so it can
Or
follow
make it
behind,
9. Yeah, yeah.
or we just make it 9?
Oh, yeah, you make
Yeah.
it 8, and, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds really good. 2.3, Roman numeral 5, may also suspend a policy, though such change was not listed on the agenda of the meeting. I think that goes along with it. So wherever we do 4, I think you just tack 5 onto the back of that too,
Yeah,
that you can suspend it. I don't think that's covered by Roberts, so I think we have to say it.
Okay, I was writing to catch up, so GC 6, we're adding to,
2.35,
mhm,
we're adding to,
4 and 5, we were
yeah,
gonna.
4 and 5 travel together.
okay.
And you got that on GC what?
2.
GC2.
GC2.
Mhm.
Yeah. I had mentioned.
Okay, the next one is 2.4, Roman numeral 1. And I'm just going by the quadrants, that, what was put in that quadrant. And I had that 2.4 should be added to GC2 number 3.
I have it added to GC2 as well.
I had a GC2, number 3 as well.
Add the whole thing? So it becomes a HIJKLM.
Yep. Because, yeah, that guarantees maximum effectiveness and efficiency. Blah, blah, blah. And also, it talks about Robert's Rules of Order, procedure for small boards, which we can do because we're under 12 people. And it's a little more relaxed than the other one. Robert's Rules, so it's kind of important. Many hours of discussion on that. All right, so we're down to 2.4, Roman numeral 2B. And I just put question marks because,
2B.
yeah, I couldn't find it.
No,
No,
there's
two.
there's a 2, there isn't a B.
I'm thinking that maybe should have been an R. Rewrite.
For rewrite.
Rewrite, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2.4, Roman numeral 2, regular board meetings will normally be held, blah, 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 blah. Now, this seems like a handbook issue to me, but I don't know.
When we talked in the small group, Kathy, didn't we say that just that first sentence, and that, didn't we kind of cross everything else out? Because
On the
the
first
rest
and
of it
third.
seemed like handbook,
Yes,
David?
yeah.
We were like, the board will normally hold its regular meetings as first and third Tuesday each calendar month.
Yeah.
Period.
Period,
Period.
yeah.
It's,
So that would go to where?
Just between 3 and 4.
On
I don't
GC.
GC 2, unless you wanted to,
see,
maybe after number 1, I don't know.
see right here, it says board members' attendance at all meetings. I would think it makes sense to put it right before that.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about when they are, and the attendance at meetings will be monitored monthly.
And is that, are we keeping
I
that? What
don't
does that
know.
mean, monitored monthly?
I don't know that we've gone through, we're getting rid of stuff yet,
Okay,
right?
Right, yeah,
okay,
I
because
think,
I have a question mark there, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
that's-
think it's a great idea. Well, you take attendance because that's how
That's how
people
people
get paid.
get paid,
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
but,
So we already do that,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't review it.
No.
So monitoring really has no value if
if
it's
you
not
don't,
reviewed.
exactly, yeah.
What are we gonna do with it?
All right, so we're adding that there, and,
Is the life
and you all
science.
didn't think
Yes.
the annual approving of the calendar was, you thought that was handbook stuff?
Yeah, the board calendar, the board will approve a calendar of board and board committee meetings.
I only ask because it says
Yeah.
approve,
Yeah,
No.
and approve is something the board
Board
does,
does.
it's an action you have to take.
I guess we could leave that sentence in there, Ben. Since we are
okay,
approving.
but
Yeah.
maybe not the board committee meetings, right, because that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
just
so
that
just end it,
calendar.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Will annually approve a calendar of board meetings.
Yeah,
So stop the
I can live
sentence
with that.
there.
You okay with that, Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay.
The board will annually approve a calendar of the board and
a board calendar,
Or board,
yeah.
board will annually approve a board calendar. Period.
Yeah, and I could include other things, but leave it. Okay. That takes us to 2.4, Roman numeral 5, A, 3, and 4.
Can I,
Yes, ma'am.
we took out the thing about board will hold quarterly work sessions. Do we, I think I had that in the handbook, but I don't know. Is that something that should be, that we want to, per policy, you know what I'm saying, that is it required?
Yeah. Well, I don't know where you all put it, but I'm just trying to work
I
through
don't know
that
that we put it
quadrant.
anywhere, Kathy,
We did.
2.43?
2.4.
I crossed out everything except the board will hold quarterly work sessions, period. So maybe we just kept that statement.
And you know what, we circled the word quarterly and put periodic, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, so it's not ties into
Yeah.
quarterly. But Kathy, I don't know, I don't have anything else crossed out though. You crossed everything out? I just have
Yeah.
GC written next to it, but I don't see that on our quadrant over here.
Yeah, it's not in the quadrant.
No.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should keep that whole thing because it says action may be taken
And make it periodic instead of quarterly.
instead of quarterly.
And I have GC written next to it, so I think
Okay.
we thought it was gonna go somewhere.
So you got that, Robin?
I have, the board will hold periodically work sessions.
Periodic work sessions, and then we're gonna, we'll keep that whole thing that's there,
Mhm.
although action may be taken, da.
But it's going to GC, we haven't decided where in GC yet.
GC2,
GC2?
GC2.
yeah.
Because we're still talking
We're
about
still
board
talking
meetings.
about board meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is it gonna go on to number 3, or we're gonna put a new one,
We're gonna have a new
number 10?
10.
Well, maybe it should stay where we were just talking about regular meetings, so I keep it,
Under,
under
where it
the
says
reg-
board members' attendance at all meetings,
You wanna make,
But-
you may wanna make that 4 and then just shoot everything
Yeah.
else down, because there's an awful lot in that.
We're saying the board will normally hold its regular
Yeah.
meetings before that.
And most people only read the first or second
Yeah.
sentence. Okay. All right. Can we go on to 2.4, Roman numeral 5? Um, 2.4, Roman numeral 5, A 3 and 4 is what's on the quadrant.
okay.
And, you know, those are interesting.
We,
I think it's covered already.
yeah, we put board members shall conduct themselves in a manner that promotes good governance, but all this other stuff up here,
Well, I think it's already covered in GC2 number 3
yes,
and in GC4 1A, B, and C.
so
I
the
think it's
whole,
all covered. Because 4 is the officer's role, and A, B, and C is talking about refrain from repeating,
Yeah,
assure
yeah.
discussions are productive,
Yeah.
authority, blah, blah, blah.
got that, I
so
think.
we say 5,
It's already covered.
it's covered under
GC2,
GC2.
number 3,
Okay,
GC4, number 1, A, B, and C.
GC2, GC4.
Number 1, A, B, and C. Okay, now we get to 2.4, Roman numeral 6, A through E, which is
Executive session.
executive sessions. And all I wrote was, this is important, it's gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, I wrote that whole, all of that needs to come under GC2.
Yep, that's what I
None of
put.
it's there.
Needs to be added, that whole section, A through E,
Under.
Roman numeral 6, executive sessions.
Oh, okay,
That
this
whole
is,
section needs to get added to GC2 as a new number,
Okay.
whatever number is available, the best available number. Okay? So now we have 2.4, Roman numeral 8, B. 8B is board officers and superintendent.
David, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
The executive session,
Mhm.
did you see GC7?
Mm.
Okay, GC7, number 6.
Yeah, that says you're not supposed to disclose stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's different than
The procedure
when you
going
can go
into it.
in.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
and, you know, this, as you know, this is a touchy area for us.
yeah, yeah. No, it's the same as what, E?
Yeah,
will not disclose protected information.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
So we, and if you want, we could chop E off.
No, I just
But-
know that, I mean, it's in here, but it's
Right.
not broken out by itself, and it might be a good idea.
Well, it's under GC 7, you said?
Yeah.
Number 6?
Number 6.
I had that crossed off. Did one of the groups that
No, we
Looked
didn't-
at this?
no,
Okay.
Neither one of the groups crossed that off that I'm aware of.
Oh, you know what? I had written in there, board members and all others attending executive session shall not disclose protected information discussed in executive session. I don't know where I came up with that, but okay.
Pretty much what it says.
Yeah,
That's
that's
an E.
exactly what it says.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Wow.
Oh, I took it from here. I
Mhm.
took the E and added it over here
So you
Exactly
added
what it
to,
says.
Under
to,
GC 7.
under
number
GC
six.
7,
Number
but
6. Yeah.
should it, but that's under code of conduct, maybe it should stay in,
Yeah.
where do you think, it should stay with executive session maybe?
I think to be more pronounced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we can reiterate it here.
Right, we
Leave
can
it there
do
too.
that.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So where are we putting it?
We're gonna leave it in GC2, I think,
Yep.
with the
GC
executive session.
session.
Yeah,
And when we get to GC7, if we decide we wanna keep it there too, we could.
We can.
Yeah.
yeah, this talks.
Rachel, did you have something?
Right.
No, I think we should only have like a month one though,
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
just so that it's not confused as being a mistake or something like that. It's only necessary to have it in one spot.
Right.
okay.
And I agree, then I think we should take E out when we put it up here, because everything else is talking about the board, and E talks about a member.
Okay.
And as you point out, it's already covered.
Right.
That's a good
So,
thought.
so take it.
Just A through D.
A through D, okay.
Okay.
And put that
Jettison E,
This
because
is
it's
already-
already covered.
in GC 7.6, okay.
All right, that takes us all the way to 2.410A.
Any board member may move an item from consent.
Right, any board member consent. I believe that is covered almost exactly in
At the bottom.
GC2 number 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're using
That's
consent
already-
agenda.
well, do number 4 already
Yeah.
takes care
Um,
of it.
Let's go back, I'm sorry, board meeting notification. I had under A, 7A, I had circled, all board members and staff are to provide all materials to the board's executive assistant no later than 5 PM on Thursday, immediately preceding the next regular board meeting. That might be important to keep in policy if we're going to enforce, you know, people have complained that stuff, Robin doesn't get stuff in time, and we've talked about, well then just, if she doesn't get it in time, it's not,
Doesn't go in.
doesn't
yeah.
go in. I mean, what do you think, folks?
Why didn't you all put it in the quadrant?
Because we put that in OE. That's what I have in my notes, is that we moved it to,
We did move it to, see, I had
To-
GC2 written here, but
do you?
I am,
I think it belongs under GC.
7A.
Was it a 247A, is that what this is?
Uh-huh.
24. Yeah, we put it in OE, but I mean,
Yeah, I'm just asking, because
Yeah.
you didn't put it in the quadrant, so that's why I'm
Yeah, I
asking.
don't know how we.
yeah, it's in this,
missed
it's
that.
in, it's down here.
It's down there.
Down there, right?
Mhm.
So you wanna move it?
But-
Can we do that when we get there?
Mhm. Yeah, Kathy, we'll be able to address it, and we won't forget it, because it's on the OE quote,
Because
it's in the OE.
always, okay.
Yeah.
So we still got it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, 10B, is that where we are?
Once the board has approved the board agenda.
Agenda, moving an item.
Okay.
I think that's,
hey, Mr. Campbell.
I think that's, hey, Earl,
Let's see.
I've got it added to GC2 number 4, but I don't know.
10, wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
10D.
2 point, I have,
GC2 number 4,
yep,
we add it, or it's already taken?
Or is it already covered?
Let's see.
Those are the options.
Yeah,
GCG number 4, it says the use consent,
On page
delegated.
four, on the.
Any board member may move,
And then
and over here it
page
says,
14 on the
an
comments.
item may be moved from the consent
Yeah,
upon
GC.
request of a single member.
2,
Right.
the bottom of the page, board will use the consent agenda. Yeah,
This
and
is
then-
talking about once the,
and page 14
once the
here.
agenda's been approved. I don't think that's covered in here.
So you want to let's leave it in? So so A is already in here, right?
Yeah, A is taken care of.
Eight's number 4.
I don't think B is. I think we would need to add that if you think it's valuable. I think it's valuable.
Okay.
Add to GC 2, Number four.
yeah, because
and
number
it
4
goes
Once
to,
the agenda's been
been
approved.
approved.
and then it becomes a, GC 4.
And I don't know whether that's in Roberts. I didn't bother to check.
So it's right with
4.
number 4, because the first one talks about consent agenda, and then the prior to board
So we just
approval.
add that to GCG
To-
number 4.
Agenda adoption.
And then add it, okay.
Okay, so 2, 4, 11, B and C. 11B is the board secretary.
Yep.
Should ensure that things are posted to the website.
We need to, we need to add it to 3.1, because under board roles here, there's not a secretary listed.
Under officers' roles, GC 4.
GC 4, yep.
There's secretary right here.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, did you already add that in? Oh,
That was
I
from the
thought-
changes
I'm
from the,
using-
from
yeah,
the
sorry,
last.
I'm using.
You have to
my-
use the,
I'm sorry. I'm like, wait,
I updated
Okay.
some of the
If you're
changes.
expecting to get an A for this, you've
I,
got some ground to make up.
okay, all right, got it.
I'm holding on with my C and D, so you know.
Kathy, I'm just pointing that out because I'm so afraid I've got the wrong
Yeah,
copy.
yeah.
What I did is to make it easy is, as we do, I put the revisions of the date, so this next group will be as of today's date.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people,
Okay, so
so close
this,
to, where are we?
B and C, board meeting minutes. It's talking about posting the minutes, and then if they're not adopted, marked as draft. And the only thing I could come up with was added to GCT number 8, if we thought it was valuable.
B and C?
Well, I mean, it's just my thought, because number 8 talks about motions and results should be in a direct database, and all board action will be maintained online. It just seems like this stuff goes along with that.
It does, yes.
So add.
B and C should
Add
be
the
added
entire-
to
okay.
number 8. Okay, so 2, 4, 11. Now, there were 2 11s, so. First 11 is the voting method. And I believe that's covered by Robert's rules, so I don't believe there's any reason for us to.
Electronic voting? No.
That's the next one.
That's the next
No.
one, sorry.
This
Oh.
is 11, the first 11.
The first 11.
Recording of board meetings?
No,
Or
we'll
the
conduct
voting, it
votes
says
on all
voting
motions.
method. I
By
think
vote.
that's covered by Robert's rules. There's no reason for us not to state it.
Okay,
Yeah.
That-
so I can
That
delete
all
this.
motions be yes, no, or abstain.
So this is covered under.
And then the reconsideration goes, that's all Robert's rule stuff, so. Now, the next 11, I think, oh, maybe it's the 12.
12, I think.
Electronic
yeah.
participation is
Right.
the 12.
That's gonna have to be added
A, B, and C.
Yeah,
That's not covered by Roberts.
now that I don't know.
I can go get Roberts, Mr. Strickland.
I don't know whether the latest
No.
edition covers electronic participation or not.
I know, I'll go get it.
I don't think it does.
I don't think so
You don't
either.
think it does, Rachel?
On this one, let's, for the sake of today's, say that it doesn't,
Okay,
Right.
and then put it in.
and we'll add it, we can always take it out later.
Right.
So
So
we're adding-
12, A, B, and C
Okay,
GC,
goes to, where are we putting it again?
GC2,
GC2, adding it.
yeah, and what about D?
I don't know, that wasn't on
I know.
It wasn't in the
Why?
quadrant.
It wasn't in the quadrant.
On my notes,
I know
that
that one of the, that had pretty significant discussion and research by Wendy when we did it, in the
Yes.
previous committee, so.
yeah, this, yeah. I remember
Executive
this
session-
issue.
Right.
session.
yeah, and on my notes from our small group, I do have D included. I don't know why I didn't make it to the
Yeah.
quadrant, so,
yeah, so
I think
add
it should
A
stay.
through D.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, so that, now we're at number, Roman numeral 13, A through D.
That's what we just did.
That's what we just did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
can we just, Roman numeral 11, the voting method?
Uh-huh.
I had written in there, Kathy, we didn't cross out no secret ballots will be used, all votes will be public. Is that something worthwhile keeping in?
I think that's
Under-
covered by Roberts.
You think so? Okay.
Pretty sure it is.
So it gets
Okay.
crossed out.
Yeah, you can't have secret ballots.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think you ever could,
Um,
I didn't know if it needed to be.
And who's gonna update Rodman on that one? Anybody? Thank you, Rachel. 3.1, Roman numeral 1. Is the next one. Board officer and election process. I couldn't find a match for the election process, so.
No,
I could not either.
and I wrote on, when we were doing it, kind of like, well, no, I wrote duties, but we have the duties.
The duties are taken care
Right.
of, yeah.
And like down here, under board chair is GC4, but I think this election process, this whole thing, we don't have, there's no
I don't think
match.
there is, there's no
I
match.
couldn't find any match.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we should put it under, should we
I
make
think
a
that's,
new?
where do I have a copy?
Go-
So
You saw it
You
somewhere?
saw it somewhere?
it's not, I didn't see it in the policy manual, I think I saw it somewhere else.
Oh, I wonder if they had it in their bylaws.
Yeah, well,
which we don't have.
I feel strongly about those bylaws.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do
Yeah,
have it
they
in
do.
their
Oh my gosh,
bylaws.
they've got all this kind of stuff in their bylaws.
Yeah,
Even electronic means.
Uh-huh.
Workshop meetings where they have the work sessions and all of that's in there too.
Wow. All right, so we think it's in the bylaws, and we'll just have to decide whether we're keeping the bylaws.
Yeah, I don't know, I have a
Yeah,
problem
most-
with the wording, bylaws.
bylaws,
Big
yeah.
problem with bylaws.
So, I think handbook was one thing, but you know what, guys, remember when we had the election? I mean, there was questions, we had to refer to it, I
Yes,
think we're
yeah.
better off leaving it somewhere,
Leave it
putting
in
it
Right,
somewhere,
leave it in,
yes.
yes.
putting it somewhere in there.
All right,
Whether-
so should we do it as a,
We could add another GC number.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, just give it its
Yeah.
own number.
Or we could change GC4 to include election process and board officer roles, and include
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
I can go with that. How about
Okay.
you, Rachel?
That works.
So we change the title,
Election process
Process
and
and
officers' roles.
and then we add that Roman numeral 1.
Yeah.
And if it has to be wordsmith, we'll do that later. We will.
Okay.
think are covered in GC four.
Or, yeah,
Which
that's
are
what I
the
have.
officers' roles, I think that's already
Yeah.
covered, so we don't need to do anything there. 3.2, I believe, is GC five.
Oh, we need to add one. We needed to add supervise the executive assistant to the board and ensures that an annual performance evaluation is conducted by the board.
I added that.
Did you,
And
oh,
I
did you
added-
already add this one because
I
I
think
had
I
not,
did.
yeah, okay,
Yes.
sorry. My A's getting further away, isn't it, David?
You're headed toward a C, sister.
I just don't wanna get a D.
I don't know what college you think you're gonna
Yeah, we
go
got this permanent record. Where do we put the evaluation, Robin? I can't find it.
It's under secretary.
Under
It's
secretary.
Would the
It's in
board's
red.
executive
Yeah.
assistant keep a permanent record of all proceedings of the board?
Oh,
I
no.
thought you said something
I
about
did.
evaluation.
I
Number
did,
5.
it's number
Number
5.
5.
Supervise and ensure the annual evaluation. Yes, we got it, we got it, we got it.
Wendy's helping me out here.
No, this is good though, because we're
We're
just
helping
getting
think it through where we put stuff,
Absolutely.
you know,
Well,
we
I'm
put things in different
Working
places.
from the wrong. Okay, I'm sorry, David, keep going.
You know all that Duke stuff you bought? You might wanna return it.
And look what else we can't see, Chiefs.
Yeah, yeah. I had
Okay.
Kansas City stuff.
3.2.
Kansas City Chiefs.
3.2, board committees. I've got that in GC five, and GC five has a lot of highlights because that's gonna be a
So
topic.
Yeah, ours is a lot
Big
different,
discussion.
that's
Well,
right.
I highlighted it because I didn't know
It
what,
was right to highlight it.
You were right.
what to do with it.
It's right to
So
highlight,
that's
it's
why
gonna be a
it's-
big discussion,
Yeah,
but for the purposes of us today, I think that's
It's in
GC
there.
five.
yes.
Great. Take the whole thing out,
Yeah.
3.2.
We'll take, that'll be covered in GC five.
Yeah,
3
We're
point,
deleting all of 3.2 here?
it's all covered in 3.
Oh, good.
it'll be covered in
GC
GC five.
five.
It will be, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of conversation.
Yeah.
A
Not
lot
that
of
we're adopting
conversation.
what they have, but.
Okay.
Right.
I can write the script for some of it,
Okay.
So the whole,
just forget it.
got it.
Yeah, policy 3.3 is the annual planning cycle.
Yeah.
I believe that's covered in GC six.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have that
They
annual.
already have that taken care of. 3.4, Roman numeral 1.
GC 7. Right?
That would be GC 7.
I've got to add to GC 7 number 1. The first Roman numeral, which is constituent issues, blah, blah, blah. And I do remember where this came from. I'll give you the history. There were some issues, they weren't brought to the superintendent of a potential legal action that a board member was aware of. And so that is where this came from.
Okay,
That seems to have value to me,
Yes.
Yes, it does.
so add that to GC 7.
so I would say add it to GC 7 number 1.
Okay.
Each, okay.
So it'll become a
It'll become an
EFG.
F or whatever it
Become
is.
an F, you mean?
Yeah, become
Okay.
an F or whatever the best available
Yeah,
letter
Okay,
is.
F, okay.
3.4, Roman numeral 3, A through D, which is,
Focus on
yeah,
issues.
focus on issues,
Yeah, that's
respect
here.
decisions, that's already covered in
Yeah.
GC 7. All that good stuff.
So no two.
Do they cover to tell the
Two
truth?
went to be,
Nowhere in
board
here does it say you have to tell the
superintendent
truth.
relations.
Okay, board superintendent relations, okay.
That would shorten our meetings a lot.
Exercise honesty,
Oh, they got it.
yeah.
Okay, they got it. We don't have it. But that'll be a good upgrade. 3, 4, Roman numeral 4 and 5, I think are also covered in 7. That's confidentiality and avoid conflicts of interest. I think that's already taken care of in GC 7. Except when it just says, as you pointed out, number 6 was the confidentiality.
I have GC 8 there, the conflict of interest,
And
recuse.
for the second one is GC 8, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So
one?
it's covered.
Oh.
It's
this is
covered by
GC.
7 and 8, depending. 3-4, Roman numeral 8, which says members shall make official visits to schools only upon knowledge of the principal or designee. I thought that should go in the handbook.
They,
I don't think that's a policy.
they have number 9.
They do?
Visit schools within board members' district at least
Right.
once each year, and I thought that,
That takes, yeah, this one is
this
just
could
talking
add
about,
to it.
yeah,
Or,
getting
yeah.
the principal's permission. We've had an issue with this.
I
Yes,
know.
we have.
So I was thinking that if we were,
Add that.
we could add it, but.
So we'll add
So this
Roman
is-
numeral 8 to what?
GC.
Well, I was thinking it could go under board job description, GC3,
GC3.
GC3-9, it could be
Number
added
9.
to that, although I'm not sure we're keeping the visit schools once a year, but if we do.
It's in the statute.
It's state statute, you have to visit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's covered. State statute, but it's worth repeating,
Yeah.
because going back to who reads this stuff, I don't think new board members read the state statute.
Right,
But I'm
right.
pretty sure they read the policy.
That's
Yeah.
great, thank you for.
So it's visiting, what's in state statute, all the schools or the ones in your
Schools,
area?
visiting schools, not just in your area, I
Didn't
think.
say
Yeah.
in district,
Yeah.
I should go get
Visit
That's
that.
all
schools within
districts.
board members' district.
Right,
Now, that's interesting.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it
That is interesting.
District 8,
yeah.
or is it within your school district?
Well, if it says board members district, I
I'll have to
assume
look
it
at the
to
statute,
be.
I don't remember if it says board members
Oh, yeah.
district, I don't have it,
District
it just
8.
says visit schools, but I can get it for you.
I have more than anybody.
So it's covered either by state statute or,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
What?
okay.
I'd like to take out this word designee. Members shall make official visits to schools only upon knowledge of the principal.
I think we just jettisoned the whole thing though.
Oh, we did?
Or
And
we're
add to.
Yeah,
Or we're
and
gonna
we're
add-
adding it to GC3.
We're adding it to GC3.
Three members make
Number
official
9.
visits.
I don't
No, the
know.
principal may not be there, I'm just
So
saying.
it'd be like
they,
VP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has to give it to you.
Oh, well, I always set mine up before I go, so if I
I
don't.
know, but you're
You're,
different.
See, she got that
than
A.
Some others. You're high C so far. Tough
Okay.
grader, but you'll appreciate
All
it
right,
when you
yes,
move
that's
on.
good.
So you said only upon knowledge of the principal or designee?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
said leave
that's
that
fine.
there, just
Okay.
be an assistant.
And do we want to keep in them not interfering with day-to-day operations?
Well, pretty important.
See, I think it is, because I've already told the principals,
Yeah, I think it's important.
I don't come because I don't want you to spend time with me. I'd rather you do your job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just say put the whole thing in.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You with us on that one, Rachel?
Yeah,
Okay.
What's your thought? You sounded hesitant.
Yeah.
no, it's fine, as long as there's no, it's discretionary.
Okay. Now, we're on 3-4, Roman numeral 13. Board members request information only through the superintendent. The request be made by email when possible, purpose, blah, 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 blah. I would add to BSR2.
Yes, I have BS.
Just the last sentence.
Okay, just the last sentence.
All information should be provided to all board members.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Let me look at BSR2. Let me look at it. I don't know why I wrote this last sentence.
All information pursuant to this paragraph should be provided to all board members.
I think I probably meant, should it be a last sentence? BSR2, I don't know if it's necessary, but
And the
Yeah, I
reason
don't-
why number 3 and BSR2 is red, because that, I took that from a policy, but it just wasn't approved yet, so it was in red in our policy.
And Kathy, I have next to it that would have gone to the board superintendent relations.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
don't know how
had.
it got in the GC quadrant, David.
No, he's saying BS, I thought.
Yeah, I think it goes into BSR
BSR
too.
two, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's the
Yeah.
GC, I think
Oh, did you?
it should go to
Yeah,
BSR.
Yes.
So I'll
But we're talking about it because it's in this quadrant.
Yeah,
BSR
yeah, I'm
two.
just trying to clean that
Right, so I think
quadrant.
it needs to go, yeah, I don't know
Okay.
how it got in
Goes
that
to
quadrant.
BSR too.
Yeah.
And is it added or covered?
Oh, that I don't know, 'cause
It
Chopped,
has to be added.
smothered.
It's not,
The whole thing?
yeah, I don't see it in here, although I see it other
Well, the
places.
timing is kind of covered. I don't know. I guess we'll add it and see what the whole board thinks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Add the whole thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 3.5, process for addressing violations of policy. That's GC 9, and that's going to be discussion. I think you've already got it in here. Mark,
So which one did y'all want to
it's
use?
GC 9.
Okay.
And it's already marked up in the highlighted, it says 3.5,
Yeah.
that's our policy,
Yeah.
3.5, so
So I put it there because I didn't know if that's where we
that's
were
where it's
putting
gonna,
it.
that's
Yeah.
where it's gonna go.
Now, this one just has the underlined portion of page 30 under GC 9, where the board policy has more dialogue in it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah, this is
I don't know
very
which
brief
one you all like better.
compared to how that is much more. Yeah.
Oh,
And then and this one, the Beaufort County says public accountability of the charge member, but it's not in the Horry County one. Says public
Yeah,
censure.
I've always wondered about that one, but I think this is gonna be an extended discussion,
Okay.
so I think we'll just say,
And then
we're gonna have to decide as a board what to do with that.
it's a little different.
It is different,
It is
Yeah.
different.
Mhm.
based on experience. So,
Discussion in a private setting. Okay.
I think maybe we'll just put it in GC 9 and highlight it, and then,
Yeah.
because
As
there's
is
no
with the whole
decision,
thing?
there's,
The whole thing.
yeah, just
Yeah,
put it
I
in
wrote
there,
it in.
and then
Yeah.
make it
On
a
top
full
of,
board
okay.
discussion,
Yeah.
because there's nothing that we can decide here
Right,
that is gonna hold any water when we get to the full board.
right.
Yeah, because this one talks about a private setting between offending member and board chair, vice chair, then discussion private between offending member and the full board. Interesting.
Yeah,
and then our small group did ask, are we going to
Yeah.
add a grievance?
Right.
We can't-
Grievances,
Are so.
process for addressing,
I
haven't-
understand
yeah.
that, but we don't have a process, I don't believe we have a legal ruling on that, I don't believe
It's
Ms.
grievances,
Marshak has
yeah.
gotten her response from the Attorney General.
Oh, okay.
Remember she filed one, didn't she file one as an independent person or something?
I better go check this.
I don't know.
Mm.
I wouldn't go near that one, because we don't have
Yeah.
the legal grounds to do anything.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to draft one right now, but let's not forget,
yeah.
that.
It's,
Let's hope state law covers that.
because grievances are like employee
I
things.
know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
We've already had a couple of legal opinions, but I think we need one from an attorney.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, 3.6. I've got add to GC 10, question mark.
I've got GC 10.
This is the cost of board
Yeah.
governance,
Mhm.
and I think GC 10 talks about it, but it is not as specific as we are.
So I wanted to know, do I add the whole 3.6 into that?
Right, that's the question.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot more detail, isn't it?
Do we need, and the question is, do we need to be that specific, or is general good enough? My feeling is specifics, when it comes to money, specifics are better.
Is better, yes,
than
I
general.
agree,
I agree too.
yeah. I would put all this in,
Yep, and just replace.
Yeah.
just replace, yeah.
Although I like their first sentence in GC 10.
Or will invest in its government
That's
capacity.
prudent, sure governance is effective and efficient.
Yeah.
I like that first sentence.
That's like mom and apple pie.
Everybody loves that.
So I'm keeping that and then just adding
Adding our stuff.
add our stuff underneath it.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
All right, 3.7. Diversity statement. I don't know where we added.
I didn't
Well, I think
find
it's
it.
pretty
I didn't
important.
find it there, yeah,
I
I
would check.
don't have it.
Um,
So it's
You should
a,
have it. Mhm.
yeah, it's a GC 11 or something.
Yeah, there you go. The next
GC
available
11.
number. Three point eight, conflicts of interest. I think that's already covered in GCA for the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
But this covers the board and the district employees. This one, ours. So GCA covers the board
The
conflict
board.
of interest, but it doesn't talk about the district. And as you all know,
Isn't
I
that
say-
an AR?
that was sensitive,
Yeah.
because part of the thing was, well, there's no board policy.
Family
Was
member.
part of the defense. Which is why this came to me.
Well, if we added Roman numeral 2,
And then just do the employee part.
yeah,
I agree with you. So we added the GC8 Roman numeral 2.
immediate family member shall be defined as including the parent, spouse, sibling, or child of a board member or BCSD employee. Does that,
But then,
Well, how do they define it?
They just call member, we talked about family. But they're not board members, so.
yeah, they're
we have to
talking,
add.
their whole thing is about a board member's conflict of interest. This is more general, this is employee and board.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that Maury County probably didn't feel they needed to define conflict of interest for the district. But I think our experience tells us it's probably a good idea.
Maybe we should just use ours instead.
I can go with that. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I like our,
Yeah, just use
Right.
ours. So GC8
GC8 will
becomes
become-
R38.
R38 becomes GC8.
I mean, if you wanted to have this little paragraph, but public office represents. I don't know.
Trust, yeah.
Yeah.
Mom and apple pie.
Mhm.
Everybody does apple pie. 4.1.
are we keeping, meetings to 2 hours? Is that the,
Yeah, I thought if I could just get through 4.1, we finished off that quadrant.
okay, all right.
Okay, it'll be the last one. And it's public comment at Board of Education meetings. I couldn't find any match, so I thought it either goes in the handbook or it goes in the policies.
I think it goes as the handbook, but.
Yeah, I tend to think it's a handbook item.
Don't we
Because
have
we're not-
don't we have some place in the, that says we're gonna allow for public comment?
I don't know.
I thought we did in one of these places, because the only reason that should
We
be a
encourage.
policy is that we, you know, if we don't have it in policy, some board may interpret, oh, we don't have to have public comments because it's not,
Yeah, it's not required by law.
yeah. So that would be my, but I thought, I read it.
You know what, yeah, you know what, now that you say that, now I'm thinking it does belong, under policy, because if we ever did want to vote to change it,
Mhm.
the handbook, I don't know how we put changes in the handbook as opposed to the policy manual, you know what I'm saying?
Yep, I agree with you on that.
So,
So this would
I think that it does kind of belong
go
in
wherever
policy
we
then.
talk about meetings, which is GC
two.
two.
TC2, yeah.
Make this a new number,
The whole thing?
do the whole thing. Yeah, I'm in favor of that one, I think Rachel's right. We don't know what the handbook's gonna end up being.
Yeah, I just think we need to
It's such a big
recognize
topic
it,
right
yeah,
now. It's
yeah.
a
We
big
don't want,
topic.
we don't want it to disappear.
Right.
Yeah, it's in there for a reason.
Right.
All right.
And what about 310? That didn't show up anywhere here either because, they don't have anything like this. The teacher dismissal hearing
This was
process.
a brand new one that was
That would
added.
probably go under what, operational expectations or something?
Yep,
Oh,
probably.
would that be an OE, you think?
I'm wondering if it would.
Don't know,
Okay.
don't know, all I know is it wasn't in that quadrant, so.
Right.
Yeah, that's
All
one
right,
of
I
those
think Rachel's under a time
changes, right?
constraint.
Yeah.
And so
Sorry.
so
okay.
the next,
Trying to pack it in.
Yeah?
Next meeting?
next meeting is, we've gotten through that quadrant, so.
Wow, that's great.
The next meeting, we will go through the other quadrant and start on OEs.
Okay.
And I'm not sure how far we're gonna get OEs, but we'll talk about that at the next meeting.
Okay.
So what's a good date for everybody?
Well, I'm out of town the rest of this week. I come back Sunday.
All right, how's everybody else for Friday this week?
Friday
Friday
Yeah, we can raise our grade point
Yes, you
average
can.
if we drop the lower performing students.
What do you all have going on the week of the 10th?
Well, wait, did Rachel say you could do it Friday?
Oh,
No,
I'm
I was
sorry.
just
Oh,
I'm teasing.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't bullying, I hope.
No.
I mean,
The 12th is good for me.
We have an operations
Oh,
committee
yeah.
meeting at 4:30 on the 12th. So if you want to start earlier,
I wouldn't be able to do earlier, but I
Okay.
could do after.
But Mr. Trivia's operations and that.
Yeah.
that's why I said we have
Yeah,
operations at
yeah.
4:30.
Right.
Yeah, operations goes 4:30 to probably 6:30, because I think we have things on.
Thursday?
Whereas the teacher forum is at 4:30 at
And-
OKDL.
And Rachel, you and I have an ACE board
And we
meeting
have an
at
ACE board meeting on the 13th.
Oh, good
5.
enough.
That's why finance, one of the reasons finance was rescheduled.
Got it.
And we're supposed to be wrapped up on this by 28th, so,
Friday, the 8th of March.
28th, no, 28th of February. That's the work session.
Okay, let's look at Friday. Friday.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
What do you all have on the 11th?
I'm good.
Wait,
on
you're
the
talking,
I
wait,
can't do it on the
Oh,
11th.
Yeah, I can't do the
Then
other
on the 11th, my daughter's getting the Student of the Month award.
Oh,
Very
cool.
nice, Rachel,
Nice.
congratulations.
Very nice.
Well, we can get
Monday
somebody
the
to tape
17th.
that.
They're doing it
Your
at
voice
Town
is
Council.
good.
I can tell you stories about how I did just that.
All right, so where
What
are we?
about Monday the 17th?
Don't we have
Ooh,
academic
yeah.
Oh my
Way out.
gosh, I know.
We're getting way out, because
Okay.
that's 2 weeks from now.
I can probably do something on the 7th. Let me just pull both my calendars up. I'll still be in Texas.
And then,
Oh,
7th?
So I'll have to call in.
Okay,
on
that's fine.
Friday.
what day, I'm
You do
sorry?
that well.
Friday?
Friday the
This
7th?
Friday?
Can you do Friday? You can't because you're out of town.
Yeah, I might be able to call. Let's see, it's 2 hours time difference. Which way?
Behind us.
Yeah, behind.
You're behind us.
What time can you do? I have a 6 o'clock.
I'm pretty open. That was my day that they're gonna start filling in. So if I put this on now, I can have things fill in around it.
Yeah.
How early can you do it, Kat? Well, you're 2 hours behind, so you're already gonna be early.
So if we do it at 2, you'd be at noon.
Noon.
Are
Noon.
you gonna be getting a lunch break?
Yeah,
Do you trust us?
yeah.
Do you wanna do it? Okay. I was
Yeah,
gonna
just
say
go
earlier.
ahead. I can set, when I hear what the homework assignment is, I can maybe write something up and send it to you, because,
I'm afraid we're just
All right.
gonna run out of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna do this Friday at 2.
Mhm.
All right. 2 Eastern, 1 my time.
So Rachel, I'll call you on Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Friday at 2.
I have a MDR at 1 o'clock at Mayberry, so I can call in from over there.
I'll get your
Unless
call.
unless it resolves.
Okay, 2 to 4?
2 to 4.
Okay.
And we will go through that board superintendent quadrant and start to tackle the OEs. Depending, I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure how far we're gonna get on the OEs, or whether the committees are gonna do the OEs. That's one of my questions. So, maybe we'll know more after tomorrow night.
Okay.
But that'll be, we'll put that on the agenda.
Okay.
All right.
Gosh, I'll make great progress.
Yeah.
Really good.
Motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Okay. Discussion?
All right.
No,
Nope.
nope.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Rachel.